McLaren makes the best looking cars on the road today. As car guys, we love variety, but we all have our own brand allegiances. And today, I'm going to use this 720S to talk about why mine lies with McLaren. First of all, right off the bat, in order to get a carbon tub with a Porsche or a Ferrari, you need to be spending millions of dollars. The first levels of cars that have that are LaFerraris and 918s. McLaren gives it on every single one of their cars. And especially on convertibles, the stiffness and rigidity you get from that is a massive bonus. It makes the cars so much lighter and equally strong as their competitors. And then when you put a convertible top on it, having driven a 458 Spider, I can say McLaren convertibles are way more rigid and way more stiff, and have no windshield flex like a Ferrari. Number 2, Ferrari went to electric power steering or EPAS with the 488, and Porsche went with the 991 generation over a decade ago. McLaren still holds firm to staying with hydraulic steering. That means this car and all other McLaren models have far superior road feel and far superior connection to the car to any of their competitors. Oneness with a car can tend to be overstated in today's world, but with everybody going electric, hydraulic means you feel every little bit of rotation this car does. You feel the grip, you feel when it's losing grip, and it just makes you feel so much more connected to the car than you would in a Ferrari or a Porsche. Reason number 3 is performance value. At current market, this 720 is between $200,000 and $250,000. It does a quarter mile in under 10 seconds. Getting that from a Porsche or a Ferrari is almost impossible at that price point. The only thing that can compete is a used 992 Turbo S, which is so much heavier than this car, partially thanks to the lack of the carbon tub, but we're talking 500-600 pounds more if you go to the new generation 992.2. It's closer to 1,000 pounds. It's night and day. This is the only car in this price point with this speed that can give you that kind of feedback. One of the most important ones is weight. The average McLaren is so much lighter than the average modern Ferrari or Porsche. As I said before, a Turbo S is 3,600 pounds for a .1, its .2 is closer to 4,000 pounds. A 296 is about 3,600 pounds actually weighed, and SF90 is close to 4,000. 720, 3,100 pounds curb as a Spider. That's just unbelievable, and it makes every input of the car feel more satisfying. Number 4 is experiences with the OEM themselves. When we've had warranty issues with Ferrari or Porsche, they refuse to cover stuff. It's happened multiple times with Porsche. It's happened at least 4 times with Porsche, where they just leave you out to dry and try to avoid it. McLaren has taken responsibility for the one warranty claim we needed on this car, which was the windshield, which ironically is one of them we needed on the Porsche, and they also won't cover it. McLaren had an issue with lightweight windshields when they were trying to save some weight. They fixed it, they made a whole new generation of glass, and it's all good. Porsche has this issue, has not fixed it, and won't cover it under warranty if they see any form of a rock chip. Number 5 is the variety in the driving modes. The changes that this car, and more specifically the 750, make when you go from sport or comfort and to track is insane. It feels like 10 completely different cars. A Porsche, if you press a stiffer spring button, you get a 5-10% feel. Ferrari, you get a little more throttle response as you go through the modes, but it's really just traction control slippage it lets you do. This car turns into a completely different car. Ferrari's bumpy road mode is excellent. This is more to do with Porsche, but the variety itself between engine, transmission, and suspension varies way more in this car than a Ferrari as well. Number 6 is similar, and it's ride quality. Especially compared to Porsche's RS models, these cars ride so much softer. The new Porsche models, the Spider RS, the 992 GT3, have gotten a lot softer and while maintaining that front end stiffness. But thanks to the hydraulic suspension in this car and all 4 corners being separate, this is an industry-leading ride quality by a lot. Number 7 also has to do with the manufacturers, but more specifically, the dealers. Ferrari dealers for years have egged you on trying to get you allocations by making you buy used cars at inflated values. With McLaren, partially because they're a newer brand and demand is lower, dealers will have to treat you better to get your business. The models are much easier to get into. To buy a GT3, you have to buy multiple models or pay 100 over. You don't have to play those games. Even with McLaren models that go over MSRP, the dealers charge MSRP. 765LT, when it came out, you could, if you had a relationship with McLaren, you could order one. You didn't have to have a huge, thanks to McLaren having less models. Ferraris go back 60 years. Say you want a LaFerrari replacement, the F80, you have to buy F40, F50, Enzo, LaFerrari. You don't need that with McLaren because they simply don't have A, the demand, or B, the amount of models. Porsche goes back with the 911 to 1963. Your buying history could be so much longer with those 2 brands than McLaren. Number 8 is daily ability. This isn't necessarily against the 911 GTS or Carrera S, This is more against the GT cars and the Ferraris. So these engines are, Prince Langway, as we're talking about this. These engines are perfectly happy on a racetrack, but they're fine to just do normal driving. You could drive all day in traffic, not have any crazy lugging. You have incredibly comfortable seats. Ferrari's seats are nowhere near as comfortable in my opinion. You also have less legroom in a Ferrari, less width in a Ferrari. Porsche, the bucket seats have gotten really good over the years. The Spider RS specifically is a lot better than the first generation of 918 seats. But the GT3 engine does not like being idling. It does not like being in traffic. The Spider RS is an automatic, it's PDK, and it basically stalls when you have to crawl along. That lack of weight doesn't just make all of your inputs feel better. It doesn't just make the car a better driver's car, but it makes the sensation of speed just outright terrifying, to be honest. You can floor Turbo S, it's not going to scare you, especially with the all-wheel drive system and the added weight. It's not going to scare you. You feel secure in the car. This, you're secure, but you feel like you are genuinely being launched out of a cannon. McLaren's being turbocharged, you do get like 20 miles to the gallon. I'm getting 13.8 right now. Haven't been doing anything but performance driving. But you do get 20 plus miles per gallon. With the GT3, you do get less. Not that that's the most important thing in this class, but it's important to know, and it's important to daily ability. Not just for cost, but also for having to fill up. Okay, so handling to track, manual. And the most important thing about buying a McLaren over a Porsche or a modern day Ferrari is the driving experience. More than telling you, I'm just gonna show you. I absolutely love McLaren's traction control and stability control. They will let you get the car sideways with the systems fully on. They will trust you to correct it, but they will have your back when you really need it. You can have some big moments in these cars that I just don't feel recoverable in any other vehicle, especially with this kind of power. There's just this delusional confidence McLaren gives you, but it will bite if you disrespect it. It's something that you just don't get in modern cars. As I was talking about earlier, even on a smooth surface, the 750 does this even more, but the 720, you feel so much more stiffness in the front end. You can see the car just bouncing around here, then you put it back into comfort, and it's like you're in a Rolls or an S-Class. It's just the way this car can become multiple cars with just the flick of a switch is something that you just don't get from any of the other supercar brands. Not to this extent. Those drive modes I was talking about earlier, the big benefit outside of just the extremities they go to, you have handling and power in all McLaren models, all modern McLaren models, so just not including the F1. You can have track handling if you're on a curvy road and you're not going to be getting into the power band all the time, and you can just leave it in sport powertrain. Or if you want to go fast in a straight line, but you don't want to pop a wheel on a bad road or break your back, you leave the handling in comfort, you put the powertrain track, and you put your foot down. It's so nice to have that variability where Ferrari just has normal sport race, and then ESC off, but that's all really just powertrain. Then you have bumpy road mode, which all it does is make it softer. You don't have a setting to just make it stiffer separately to the engine. Porsche has PDK Sport, where you got the transmission in sport, and then you have the springs. And then you have the stiffer springs. But those springs barely adjust, and that sport button doesn't do that much. It'll just only affect your automatic driving, where if you're driving hard, you want to drive a manual. All it does is adjust where it shifts in each gear through different throttle inputs in automatic. This video is in no way meant to be a slight against Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, or any other brand. All I'm saying is that my preference is McLaren. Everyone has their own, and these are my reasons for it. The feedback you get from this chassis with this hydraulic steering is basically unbeatable. I mean, smaller, lighter cars like a Lotus even, their hydraulic steering isn't as good as this. There isn't as much mid-corner feel through the wheel. The initial input is equally good, but McLaren just has this absolute magic that is pretty much irreplicable from anything I've ever driven. even though these cars are lightweight with a ton of power, even on 30, 40 degree days like today, you have this just immense confidence factor that you'll just throw it in and it will grip. Obviously not pushing right now, but you can floor the car in cold temperatures, and it's just, it almost feels like this in 20 degrees feels like an equally powered Corvette, mid-engine Corvette, in an 80, 90 degrees. When you drive this car, if you post something online about this car, a picture or a video, you'll always be asked about the McLaren ownership and experience. And over the past almost 7 years now, between 3 different cars, we've really had no real issues or complaints. Obviously, no car is perfect, but any apprehensions you guys have about these cars, let me know in the comments, and maybe I can make you feel better about the brand, because honestly, to me, McLaren just built the ultimate supercar no matter which model you go with. One bonus reason that's not objective in the slightest is appearance. I think McLaren makes the best looking cars on the road today. The W1 took a bit to grow on me, but the 720, 765, 750 platform, I think this is the most beautiful supercar ever made. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good one.